The November 14th meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council will now come to order. I'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Prior to the start of each council meeting, which is generally the first and third Tuesdays of the month, we provide an opportunity for residents to address the council on an item that they wish to have us hear. This portion of the meeting is not recorded or televised. If you're interested in utilizing this period of time and want to be guaranteed an opportunity to speak, please contact the city manager's office at 949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, your phone number, and the subject matter you wish to discuss. After scheduled speakers, then we have impromptu speakers that may wish to address us at that time. If you have any questions about this period of time, open podium, please again contact the city manager's office. We have a number of great presentations and proclamations tonight, and the first one that we're going to start out with is the 2017 Sustainable Eden Prairie Awards. Marissa Beyer will start us out on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is the first year that we're recognizing the Sustainable Eden Prairie Award, and the program recognizes significant and innovative investments that are made in the community that support the overall vitality and sustainability of the community. This award program was coordinated with the launch of the Sustainable Eden Prairie program that was launched earlier this year, and the nomination categories reflect the focus areas of Sustainable Eden Prairie, so we are recognizing nominees in energy, landscape, water, and waste. Our eligibility criteria includes property improvements and organized programming so that both behavioral changes and property improvements can be recognized through the program. This year, nominations were accepted from March through the end of August, and we received multiple nominations in each category. Staff engaged the Conservation Commission to review the nominations and provide recommendations to staff. There are 5 award recipients we are honoring tonight, and conservation commissioners are here to help with the award presentation. So with that, I'd like to invite up Dan Katzenberger to introduce our first award recipient in the energy category.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dan Katzenberger, and this is my first year on the Conservation Commission, and then my first time presenting these awards. So our first recipient tonight is Eden Prairie Schools, who is being recognized in the energy category. Eden Prairie Schools has made significant investments in energy and renewable energy in all of their buildings. They have started replacing all outdoor parking lot and building lighting to energy efficient LED bulbs. They have subscribed to solar gardens for additional energy savings and to help reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. All district buildings are fully automated to control lighting use and optimize programs that establish night setback schedules to save energy. They are in the process of installing solar arrays on each of their facilities to help power their buildings. The photos on the screen show the staged panels on the roof. The total system will be 420 kilowatts across 11 buildings, and their participation in energy conservation programs has resulted in $200,000 in annual energy savings for the district. Eden Prairie Schools' investments increase energy efficiency, support renewable energy, and reduce their carbon footprint. They continue to explore smart investments which will have positive long-range community impacts and financial savings. Executive Director of Business Services, Jason Mutzenberger, and Superintendent Dr. Josh Swanson are accepting the award on behalf of Eden Prairie Schools. Congratulations. Wait. Picture.
Nate Pischke will come up and introduce our next recipient in the landscape category.
Good evening. My name is Nate Pischke. It's my first year serving on the Conservation Commission. Our second recipient tonight is Joanne Bartel. who is being recognized in the landscape category. Joanne lives at 9801 Archer Lane and has landscaped her yard to utilize native plants, bioswales, and rain gardens to reduce and retain water runoff. She has installed over 25 native plant species that provide valuable habitat for pollinators and other wildlife. Joanne promotes native and sustainable landscaping and has shared her plants with 10 other homeowners. When asked about the award, Joanne said that it is hopefully that sustainable concepts become more mainstream in our community and beyond.
I'm glad you're here because we didn't want to have to put this in the mail.
Just don't drop it on your foot.
Flip it up so that people can see what it says. It's beautiful. Congratulations. Thank you. Nice to see you.
And Amanda Anderson will introduce our award winner in the water category.
Good evening. I'm Amanda Anderson, and I'm serving on my second term on the commission. Tonight, we are recognizing Pioneer Trails Homeowners Association in the water category. Pioneer Trails HOA has set a goal to reduce their water usage for irrigation by 1 million gallons by the year 2018. Their goals were to conserve water, identify where water was being wasted, and improve watering efficiency while saving money for their association. Phase 1 in 2015 included replacement of old controllers with the new WaterSense certified controllers. This resulted in a reduction of water usage of 679,000 gallons when compared to historic average usage. Phase 2 in 2017 included the replacement of 315 sprinkler heads with new Watermark certified heads and restructuring the head placement for maximum efficiency. Their total investment was $23,175, and they anticipate meeting their water savings goal in 2018 as planned. Bill Brand, Homeowners Association Treasurer, indicated that these improvements are a great accomplishment because you can not only save on a valuable resource, but be cost-effective in doing it. Bud DiPietro and Bill Brand from the Homeowners Association and contractor Tom Baden are here tonight to accept the award.
And our final category tonight is waste. There was a tie in this category, and we'll be recognizing 2 award recipients in this category. Michael Bennett will be introducing our winners tonight.
Good evening. My name is Michael Bennett. I'm in my second year of serving on the Conservation Commission. And I'm going to deviate just slightly from the script that Marissa wrote for me. The first thing I want to say is I think we've all heard the saying that think globally, act locally. And I think all of our recipients tonight really embrace that. They're looking out for the big picture, but they're doing things locally that are good. And all of the people that applied also for the award this year have done things that are over and above. And I think that it's important that in addition to these awards that we recognize that people are doing those kinds of things that are going above and beyond. So our first recipient is from the Flying Dutchman's Spirits. Flying Dutchman is a locally owned Eden Prairie business. They create craft spirits, and if you haven't been there, I recommend it. During the distilling process, Flying Dutchman considers the environmental impact of each step through responsible distilling. Some of their strategies include use of solid waste, that is the high-protein corn as chicken feed for farms, use of a byproduct called heads as much as possible for a cleaner, and a mechanical technique called sanitized fermentation to reduce the waste and keep the equipment clean. Flying Dutchman is a great example of a small business investment in sustainable practices. When asked about why they made these investments, Flying Dutchman indicated they need to set an example for other members of the community and hope that this award encourages others to implement similar improvements. Owners Scott Keldenberg, Jim Keldenberg, and Brandon Thornton are here tonight to accept the award. Our second recipient in the waste category is the Early Childhood TerraCycle Recycling Program. Early childhood parent educator Kathy Matthews and Eden Prairie resident Gretchen Meek organized a large quantity of recognized that the large quantity of children's applesauce and food pouches being thrown away, and they took the initiative to implement the TerraCycle Recycling Program, which provides an alternative waste stream for these pouches. Through the program, Eden Prairie Schools, community education, and early childhood programs began collecting the pouches people brought in for snacks and encouraged parents to save them at home and drop them off at sites to be recycled. Since the program's implementation, almost 15,000 pouches have been recycled and saved from the landfill, and almost $260 has been raised for Eden Prairie Early Childhood Fund. When asked about the program, parent educator Kathy Matthews indicated that each year they are able to share the information to help over 1,000 children and their families learn about the importance and the impact of recycling for the Eden Prairie community. Kathy Matthews is here tonight to accept the award on behalf of the TerraCycle Recycling Program.
And congratulations to all of our award recipients tonight, and thank you to our conservation commissioners who are also here to help. We will be having a small reception downstairs in the atrium for the commissioners and the award winners if you'd like to head there now. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Those 5 recipients of these awards really deserve them, and I think they very much fit the categories of what we were looking for. And I just hope that this helps others in the community to realize about all the grassroots things that they can do individually to make a big difference in terms of sustainability. So thank you to all of you. All right, our next item is it says 2016 Life Safety Achievement Award. And Mr. Espenson, are you starting that? I am. Okay.
Your Honor and council members, I'll be calling up the State Fire Marshal, Bruce West, to present an award for life safety. And while I'm here to also receive the award on behalf of the fire department, with me is Assistant Chief Becky White, who's really the architect of our public education, our fire prevention efforts. And this award is due to the strategy that she's created here that's helped us get this award again. So without further ado, Marshal West.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, I'm Bruce West. I am the State Fire Marshal, Mayor and Council. I'm proud to be here tonight to present this award. I will try to be brief because I know you've got a long agenda. I was telling Becky that last night when I was making sure what time the council started, I went online, looked at it, and I saw 242 pages of, I thought, I'm not reading all that.
Aren't you glad you're at the
But
beginning of the
it's, it was great that everything was right there, so I knew exactly what time to be here tonight. But
Did you read all 240?
no, I did not. I think I looked at 2 pages and that was it, the agenda. But I am honored to be here tonight to present it is the 2016, and I know that Becky and George will definitely apply again for the 2017. But this is the 2016 Life Safety Achievement Award, which is sponsored by the National Association of State Fire Marshals, which I am a member of. But before I give the award, I want to talk about the passion that these 2 people have, your chief and your assistant chief, for fire and life safety education. And it's obviously no surprise with Becky because, she's had that passion for a number of years. And you've actually received the Life Safety Achievement Award since 2012. But it takes leadership and it takes the passion for fire and life safety education. Sometimes, as we know, no matter how much you keep, talking about something, people sometimes just don't get a grasp of it. We talk about our fire alarms, our smoke alarms. We talk about our carbon monoxide. We want to make sure we talk about careless smoking, which is our leading cause of fire-related deaths in Minnesota and continues to be. But to have that passion and keep going is so important. Even if you get knocked down in a community, to step back up and get, and keep moving forward. Now, George was telling me that this is the 50th anniversary of the Eden Prairie Fire Department. And to the best of his knowledge, and I'm going to check with our division, but there's not been a fire-related death in Eden Prairie in the entire time. Which is a credit to the Eden Prairie Fire Department and the citizens of Eden Prairie for fire and life safety education prevention. But it's so important to recognize the fire departments. We had 17 Life Safety Achievement Award recipients around the state. Now, I know there's many others that could receive this, but for them to step up and do the application to the National Association of State Fire Marshals, not everyone does that. I wish they would. I'd love to go to more council meetings and present this to departments across the state, because it is a passion. And it takes the leadership and it takes the passion of not only your leadership, but the firefighters themselves to go out and provide that education to the citizens of their communities. And as you know, most fire departments across the state are not career. They're paid on call or volunteer. And so for them to do that in their off times, it's so important to continue to do that. So I'm very happy to present the 2016 Life Safety Achievement Award. And it says, this certificate is awarded to the Eden Prairie Fire Department for your outstanding efforts on behalf of fire and life safety, September 1, 2017. Butch Browning is the president of National Association of State Fire Marshals. He's the fire marshal in Louisiana. And then Larry Jansen, president and CEO of Grinnell Mutual Reinsurance Company. So I'll present it to George.
Thank you, and I'd just like to say congratulations to our fire chief, George Espenson, and our assistant chief, Becky White. I know you don't go after these awards just to have an award. You go after these awards for recognition of a program that's really important to you, and that's the issue of fire safety. So thank you. You've made our community a much safer place to live. Thank you. The next item is a donation from State Farm Companies. Mr. Lotthammer, are you doing that?
Yes, Your Honor. Council members, this is very much a reoccurring donation. Every year at this time we receive this. It's on behalf of Gordon Williams, and Mr. Williams is a volunteer and a participant at our senior center. He is usually the first person to intercept myself and Mr. Getchell when we attend events and try to turn us away, or at least make sure that the food has already been served before we get our place. He works tirelessly at the senior center and has for a long time, and it's because of his efforts that then State Farm is willing to make this donation based on his number of service hours. So we thank him for that, and the donation then goes to help recognize other volunteers at our annual Senior Center volunteer event too. So really appreciate his year in and year out dedication to this.
Thank you. I think that he's been donating, or the conduit for donation of these funds from State Farm since we got on the council in 1994. I think it's been many, many years coming. It's wonderful that he thinks of the city and these additional programs that can use some funding, and a wonderful program from State Farm Companies that they're doing this. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt the resolution accepting the donation of $500 from State Farm Companies Foundation on behalf of Gordon Williams.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The motion passes. The next item is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move approval.
Second.
Any items to delete or add? Anything?
Just under Council Member Reports 14A,
Okay.
a brief question around Ordinance 97 compliance.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of the council workshop minutes for the workshop held on Tuesday, October 17th?
Move approval.
Second.
Any items to correct? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes from the city council meeting held that same date?
Move approval.
Second.
Any corrections to those? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. The motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of items A through K on the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Mayor, I have one item to pull. Item G, which is the approved, the revised joint powers agreement with the I-494 Corridor Commission. We have to pull that. There's some changes that are going to be necessary for a couple of the cities. So
okay.
we're going to pull that and bring it back.
Okay, all right, so items A through K minus G.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else to pull or any questions on anything there? Okay, is there a motion?
Move approval as edited or changed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First public hearing is Arby's. Mr. Getchell?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have a site plan review at 560 Prairie Center Drive. That is our Arby's restaurant in Eden Prairie. Coming to us tonight, comes directly to the City Council. It is a site plan review that has some proposed changes and remodeling that's occurring at the Arby's. There's proposed interior and exterior remodel of the restaurant that was constructed in 1989. And there are several other updates to the building and the property that will be occurring. There are updates to the signage, to the facade. There is a restriping and resurfacing of the parking lot that's planned. There's a plan to add a landscaped island along with a new sidewalk connection to Franlow Road, and some other updates to mechanicals and other improvements to the store. So I believe the applicant is present tonight to maybe provide a brief overview or maybe provide some more detail that I didn't provide about the update. This does require a public hearing, but the only action then would be to direct staff to prepare a development agreement that would come back at a future date, because as I said, it's simply a site plan review.
Good evening.
Hi.
I don't know if you can hear me. My name is John Wahlberg with ArcVision. We're the architects for Arby's. Mr. Getchow pretty much described the entire project. It's a lot of the upgrades are being driven by requirements to upgrade the landscaping. There was a lot of dead landscaping that just was not maintained properly over the years, so there's a lot of landscaping being changed out. The building is being updated. It's got an old look to it. I brought some photos. I don't know if I can get them up on the screen, but you can get them
Over there.
Okay, place them down on the table there.
Okay.
I think there's a mark on the counter, isn't there?
There is. Oh, the police chief's going to help you. No, the community development director is. Right.
See where the dot comes in, it should be somewhat centered. There, thank you. Sometimes it doesn't work.
There you go.
So that's what it looks like today.
You can come around.
Better.
The exterior will get a full facelift. It'll be a brick veneer,
Good.
more modern colors, kind of a cream and a dark brown. Much more modern look, along with an full interior upgrade other than the kitchen with the dining. The front of house, bathrooms, all get ADA upgrades. The plan is to make it 100% ADA compliant, which is why we're connecting to the public sidewalk as well. So.
Okay. Did you show some pictures of the remodel too? So the audience.
I have some black and white drawings. I do not have color renderings here.
That's fine.
And you can use the microphone over there as well if you go around, right?
Can I use the chair too?
Yes, of course.
It costs extra, but
So you can see we're adding some heights to some elements on the building to give it a little more variation. As you can see before, it was all kind of, for the most part, one level, other than some of those arched entryways. We're getting rid of that and kind of providing a little more relief on the building and some variation in the colors. So you can't see the colors, I apologize, but the dark shaded area is kind of a dark brown brick. The lighter areas where you see the brick pattern is a cream color, a lighter cream color, and then with a stone wainscot below.
We, of course, have seen these plans, and as did the Planning Commission, but could you, for the sake of the TV audience, go a little bit over the landscape plan?
Sure. Actually, I had that. Doing everything backwards here. Okay. You can see there's a little loop here. We're adding a lot of landscaping there. Pretty much all the way around that, the landscaping is being replaced. We're adding an island right here. Right now, that's currently just asphalt that's striped off. We're replacing it with a curved landscaped island with a new tree and some landscaping around there. There's a couple new trees back here, and then along the at the corner of Prairie Center Drive and Franlow Road, along with a lot of landscaping along Franlow Road there too. In addition to upgrading the landscaping around the building foundation wall.
And I think you have some maple trees in there too at the lower part of the drawing, right?
Yes.
Those M's are all maple trees?
Yes, I believe so. Yep. Yeah, those are maples right here. 4 of them along there.
Or mulberry.
Just kidding. Could be. Are there any other questions for the proponent?
One thing, I'm very glad you're upgrading the landscaping. It will be much more attractive, and you're right that some of it has slowly been withering away. Also, the ADA compliant. One other thing I have, are you going to be open during this, or are you going to shut down for a period of time to do the remodel?
The store is going to stay open. The first week is demo. They will try to keep the dining room open for a couple weeks, but at some point they shut the whole thing down. The drive-through should stay open the entire time.
Huh. So people can, it won't be one of these things that is shut and then comes back in a month or two.
No. No.
All right, thank you.
It's typically a 4 to 5 week remodel
Mhm.
process.
I assume some of the landscaping will go in next spring.
I'm not sure when they're planning on starting. I don't think they're starting until spring at the earliest, so, yeah.
All right. Any other questions? No. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address this issue? Okay.
Seeing none, I would move to close the public hearing and direct staff to prepare an amendment to the developer's agreement, incorporating staff recommendations and any additional council conditions.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. This will be a great
Thank you.
addition. Thank you. Next item on our consent calendar, or pardon me, on our public hearings is FedEx. Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The next project is the construction of a new FedEx store. The current location will be relocating from Flying Cloud Drive and Eden Road. And this is a planned unit development ordinance or district review for the construction that would be part of the north building pad of the Windsor Plaza building. And the proposed construction is for a just over 6,300 square foot FedEx building. And I believe the applicants are here tonight to provide a presentation of their project as well, and then staff and the applicant can answer any questions that you may have. This would be a public hearing and then a request to approve a first reading of an ordinance for a PUD, and then, as you know, this would come back again for a second reading at a future council meeting.
Please. Good evening.
Mayor and City Council, I'm with Olympus Ventures LLC to present the FedEx Plan Unit Development. I have a presentation on the computer stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
So Windsor Plaza is in the Eden Prairie Town Center by the Walmart Shopping Center and Bobby and Steve's. It's a very prominent retail and office location in Eden Prairie. Olympus Ventures LLC, the developer and owner of the property. We were formed in 2000. We are the family office of Richard M. Schultz. We provide support to the Family Foundation, his philanthropic platform, and Windsor Plaza is a piece of that. Our real estate investment portfolio consists of Class A office, industrial, and healthcare assets across the country, mostly in primary markets like Eden Prairie. We acquired an interest in Windsor Plaza in 2009 when it was developed, and we've been seeking a tenant for the North Pad site for the past 10 years. It was originally approved for a restaurant use, but due to parking concerns and tenants who are interested in the site, we haven't had a lot of luck, so we've switched focus to retail tenants such as FedEx. This is a map of our portfolio across the country. A little bit of information about FedEx. It's one of the most prominent shipping and printing services companies in the country. They have nearly 6,000 locations and growing, and they're a very valuable Eden Prairie retailer right now. This is a prototype of what the inside of the store will look like. And this is a rendering of the exterior of the location. Again, as was described, their existing location is being demolished due to the light rail redevelopment. They believe Windsor Plaza is the ideal location for signage and access purposes. The size of the store will be a little bit over 6,000 square feet. And as I said, we're changing use from a restaurant to retail operator. We commissioned a traffic study that indicated that traffic patterns won't change too significantly due to this development. There's going to be on average 10 people in the store at any given time. And as part of this development, we are implementing the last part of the landscape plan that was approved with the original PUD, which is a very significant investment into Eden Prairie. We're going to be utilizing in-place footings, so the Windsor Plaza structure will not be changing. We'll just be going vertical on that pad site that's been vacant for 10 years.
Okay, any questions?
A couple of questions. So in terms of the size of the facility, around 6,000 square feet, how does that relate to the current size?
The size of the pad will not be changing.
No, I mean in terms of the current location where they're located in the strip mall.
I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe it's a similar size. This will be a little bit larger.
A little larger, okay. And it sounds like they're going to have about the same level of service at this new location as they currently have?
That's correct. I believe the only change is they're going to have a little bit of training and education services.
Great. It'll be a nice addition.
Yes.
I believe so.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Will there be at-the-door parking for them? A lot of people park, run in, run back out. Will they still have that with this, at least for a 6, 7, 8 car?
They will have 2 reserve stalls as part of their lease agreement. In addition, we have ample parking at Windsor Plaza. Right now, we have some vacancy at the site, and the lower levels of the parking structure aren't used at all.
Any other questions? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this? Okay.
Seeing none, I move to close the public hearing and approve first reading of the ordinance for planned unit development district review on 0.24 acres and direct staff to prepare an amendment to the developer's agreement incorporating staff recommendations and council conditions.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes. The next item, congratulations. Thank you. It'll be a nice addition to that
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
The next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Chapter 11 relating to self-storage facilities. Mr. Getchell.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. It's been part of the city work plan here over the last year and a half to provide some more specificity within our zoning code. You may recall we've had quite a few updates over the last year related to how we define and place daycares and parks. And in this case, it's self-storage facilities. So the amendment that we're bringing forward on the first reading of an ordinance is to define a self-storage facility and to place the allowable use of a self-storage facility within particular zoning districts and city code. So currently, or historically, they are not specified in city code, and they've been interpreted as a warehouse use, and they've been permitted mostly in industrially zoned districts. We do have one in a commercial district, but with our comprehensive plan update, and as I said, to do some cleanup in city code, we are bringing this forward and recommending that kind of the main piece being that self-storage facilities be a permitted and allowed use in the industrial general district. So there was quite a bit of research and analysis that was done within our city and with other cities and with the self-storage use in general in terms of number of employees and the best fit. And so Ms. Jeremiah has a brief report that she can provide and a history that led to discussion at Planning Commission and then bringing this forth to you at City Council prior to you taking any action.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your Honor, council members, yes, Mr. Getchell did a great job of giving the kind of the synopsis on the background and where we're heading here. And there was a lack of unanimity amongst the Planning Commission, and I know you have their minutes for, you know, the richness of that discussion. But I did want to come forward to you tonight and talk a little bit more detailed with regard to the staff recommendation, because I in particularly feel quite strongly about the direction that we have recommended. As Mr. Getchell mentioned, there are 4 existing self-storage facilities in Eden Prairie. They're fairly well dispersed through the community in that we have one south of 5 on Eden Prairie Road, we have one on Valley View Road a little bit west of 494, and we have 2 in the Golden Triangle, so that is where we're seeing more. And one is north of Shady Oak, and one is south of Shady Oak within about 2.5 blocks of our LRT station in the Golden Triangle area. So there is a lot more industrial property, obviously, in that Golden Triangle, and we have a lot of visions for it. So I think some of the questions you might consider is, what is the appropriate amount of self-storage facilities in Eden Prairie? Because we do have regional highway systems, and we are likely attracting customers from other areas. And how much opportunity, you know, do we want to have more, and where should they be? And so I described where they currently are. One thing you might notice is that the northwest segment of the community is not served. There's nothing north of 5 and west of Mitchell, for example. And part of the staff recommendation to open it up and allow it as a permitted use by right in the general industrial district is to allow opportunities in that area that is currently underserved. And there are 18 properties in an IG district that are north of 212 Highway 5 and west of Mitchell. They're in current IG districts. One of them we've talked about with our comprehensive plan up in the Industrial Drive district, and how it's a very accessible area, but it's not necessarily a very visible area. There are 18 private properties along that corridor of industrial from, you know, like I said, and we can look at these on the map if you'd like. It's a little hard to pick up the purple, but maybe if we focus in on this area a little bit more, we might pick it up better. If you can focus in, there we go. Perfect. So here's 212 Highway 5 corridor, and then here is kind of the trail corridor, which has some of the industrial properties scattered amongst it up to Industrial Drive. So there's kind of a system of properties through that area. One other general industrial, Robert might take issue with this, but we have the Moss site down by the airport. But if for some reason we didn't need that property, that would be another available property. So this would allow opportunity for 18 additional properties to consider self-storage in an area that isn't currently served. The existing 4 could remain, they could continue to operate, and they could continue to maintain their properties indefinitely, so there's no reason we would necessarily lose those. In fact, it's very difficult to redevelop self-storage facilities. I have a lot of experience with this in other communities where they initially thought of them as kind of holding uses, and that they would be something that's so low intensity they'd be easy to redevelop. Truth is, they make a lot of money, and they're actually very difficult to redevelop, yet they are very low intensity, low employment, and they have impacts on the pedestrian environment and a feeling of openness, you know, amongst and between properties. So again, we are not talking about disallowing additional opportunities in Eden Prairie. We are talking about allowing additional opportunities in the general industrial districts in an area that is underserved. But staff does feel strongly, and as we continue to look at this comprehensive plan and the vision and the amount of investment that we have been putting into our commercial and industrial areas, particularly around LRT areas, and the amount of investment we have in our capital improvement program in the future, that we really don't want to see a proliferation of these uses throughout the Golden Triangle area and our commercial districts. We see really the I-2 and the I-5 districts more as our high-tech industrial areas that we need, opportunities for additional for the future. So we do want to preserve a lot of industrial. It's not about necessarily redeveloping a lot of industrial as other uses, but allowing for more futuristic uses with very good employment and the type of jobs that we're hearing from our community that we really want to see in these areas, and with transit availability. The commercial districts are where we like to see active uses. We want a welcoming environment. There's nothing wrong with these uses. There's a need for them. So I'm not speaking against them in any manner, but in commercial, they tend to deter walkability because there's a need for them to create this secured access. And there's, like I said, also the low intensity and minimal employment. There isn't a lot of activity, eyes on the street, eyes on the sidewalk, that kind of thing. So people don't necessarily feel safe walking by them. Again, that's true of a lot of industrial uses. It's just not what our vision has been and my understanding for our commercial areas. So again, those are some of the things that we feel are important. We do feel that this does provide opportunity for the future, but it would prevent a proliferation. If existing uses wanted to expand, they could come in and ask for a waiver. It's not out of the question. It would just be something you'd consider on a case-by-case basis, what's going on around it at the time, and maybe what's imminent in the future, those types of things. So we haven't heard a lot of feedback from the self-storage facility. You do have one letter from one facility, and we did get a call with just some confirmation on what it means for them for the future from one other. And with that, Rick said I'd be brief, so I don't want to get into park and rec level of length there. Okay, now I woke up Mr. Latimer. So with that, I'll certainly take any questions that you may have.
So, Ms. Jeremiah, if I'm correct, the staff recommendation is to allow it in the I general.
Correct.
But the Planning Commission had discussion about how to use I-2 and I-5.
Correct.
And the ultimate vote was to allow it also in I-2 and I-5, but two commissioners opposed that because they wanted to eliminate I-2 from that list?
Your Honor, a clarification, I believe the Planning Commission voted with a 4-2 was also to include commercial. Although there wasn't a lot of discussion, we have many different districts, including neighborhood commercials. There wasn't a lot of discussion. I think that was more to, give staff some direction on opening it up. But yes, otherwise, my understanding is the same as yours. The other, actually, if you look at the discussion, it seemed like 3 were in favor of IG, I2, and I5.
Okay.
And it was, and I may have just added I5. I apologize for that. I will double check that.
So can you just kind of condense what the discussion was at that meeting and why the feeling was that 18 additional properties where these could go in was insufficient and they needed to add I2 and I5 and commercial, which drastically multiplies the number of possible places?
Right. I think that there were a couple of different things. There was a lot of discussion about housing and the future of housing and whether that would lead to a higher demand for self-storage and whether we were potentially being more limiting and would want to allow additional self-storage. Some of that discussion was about potentially integrating self-storage into residential buildings as we move forward. To accommodate it with potentially smaller apartments. So again, things got a little bit, off track with regard to just talking about industrial districts and the like. But a lot of it was demand. It sounded like to me that it was demand driven and thinking that we may need a lot more of these types of spaces. And I think because it looks relatively limiting on the map, there wasn't a lot of discussion really about the number of properties and the disbursement, within the community. There wasn't a lot of discussion or potentially information available with regard to the demand side. But again, I feel that we can always address requests for additional uses of additional properties, whether it be through rezoning, whether it be through a future text amendment if we decide this is too limiting. But my concern is losing opportunity and a proliferation with regard to our goals and the difficulty of redeveloping them in the future. I don't know that, I didn't see a lot of discussion with regard to the walkability issue in commercial areas and how that creates kind of a dead space, for lack of a better word. So I didn't see that discussion. I think there may be a comfort with the one facility that we have in a commercial district, but it isn't in a very centralized walkable area. Right. So I think if you try to envision that elsewhere, you may come to a different conclusion. Mm-hmm. So again, it was, the discussion went in a lot of different directions, and it appeared that there were 3 commissioners who really wanted to limit it, but then when the vote was taken, 4 went, with opening it up more. So it was a little bit hard to see where that evolution came from in at least one person's thinking. That, may have been happening during the discussion, but it wasn't verbalized.
So with just going with iGen, we have 18 more additional sites. If the community intensifies in terms of residential development, there's always the possibility that we could start allowing this in other locations.
Right. And just to give you an idea, if you want to look a little bit more closely again, if we can zoom in perhaps more on this area. I'll try to get it where it should be. There we go. That should work. If we open it up to I-5, we do open up quite a few more properties in the general industrial as well as along the Highway 5 corridor, some of which may be more visible than others. And that's a little less concern than opening up to I-2. I'm not in favor of that, but it's a little less concern than also opening it up to I-2, which is the light blue, and you can see it's practically the entire Golden Triangle area It's a lot of properties on Highway 5, including that Martin Drive area that we're again looking at with our comprehensive plan and trying to be more specific as to what we want there. You do get into the major center area more. You do get down into the area where we again are looking at by Flying Cloud and Pioneer Trail behind Super America, kind of in that area. And again, there's housing in that area and we're seeing more in the future. So again, it does not seem consistent with our current direction, which is evolving with our comp plan, but it seems to be evolving away from opening it up in these areas. So appreciate your time to explain more of that.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know who was first. Mr. Aho, why don't you start?
A couple of questions for you, Ms. Jeremiah. One is, did you do any kind of surveys of the existing 4 facilities to kind of find out what their level of occupancy is, so you could kind of justify, how many new facilities might be looking to be built in Eden Prairie? So in other words, if they're pretty much all full up, all 4 of them, there might be a demand for additional facilities.
I actually don't know that we asked that question. We did provide personal letters to each of the existing so that they knew this was going on. I think those were reiterated at each meeting. So we thought we might hear more of that, but I don't know that we elicited that. We do get requests sometimes, and we have gotten some requests in properties that we do feel would be potentially problematic or near uses that might find them, less desirable. So we do think there is demand. It's not clear that it's all coming from Eden Prairie, so I'm not going to say that, but we haven't heard either from any of the existing that they're necessarily expanding or full or having vacancy issues, so I really can't answer that. I'm guessing they're pretty full.
So could you address, I know there was some notes in the packet about that, but just could you address some of the issues with the existing 4 facilities in terms of what the restrictions would be placed on those existing facilities by adopting this ordinance?
Mm-hmm. The existing facilities are in I-2 and one of the commercial districts, so they would become non-conforming, and certainly our city attorney can speak more to this, but the current non-conforming law allows them to continue operating indefinitely, to maintain their properties, and my recollection is sometimes that can mean changing some materials. It doesn't have to be exactly the same as it is today, since things evolve over time. And with that, it looks like our city attorney may want to elaborate.
But could they, for example, if they wanted to expand a little bit, I don't know if any of those have room for expansion, but could they add additional structures or buildings?
If they wanted to expand, they would need to request a waiver to do so, because expansion is prohibited via the non-conforming use unless a waiver is granted. So that would be something that would need to go through Planning Commission.
Do they have space to expand?
I think that it's possible with a couple of them, but don't think it's 2 maybe and 2 probably not would be how I would say it.
Mr.
knowledge of them.
The expansion is the only thing that they can't do. They can take down the entire building and rebuild it new, as long as the square footage doesn't increase. They can replace everything on the exterior of the building without any problem. So it's only the expansion, and I do have experience with companies coming before another city council asking for a use that was non-conforming, and it was really no different than any other kind of zoning situation that you see, where a request was made and the council considered it in that case and granted by ordinance allowing the expansion, and they were able to do it in a way then that protected the neighboring properties. It was a restaurant use in a neighborhood, so there was some concern about expansion, so they had a little bit of control then to make sure that the expansion, which they allowed, did not adversely affect a residential neighborhood with traffic and parking in front of homes and those kinds of issues. So it worked rather well, actually.
Councilmember Case.
I'm okay with just the industrial general type of property. Just looking at the map in front of me here, I'm looking at the I-2 and mine's purple, yours was light blue, but I'm not okay with expanding out into the majority of the Golden Triangle. I mean, I think that really flies right in the face of what we're trying down the road here to incentivize in that area. So, I mean, if my fellow council members wanted some addition, I mean, looking at the I-5, I think I could go with that, though I'm not real happy with where those I-5 areas are located. So I would prefer just to keep it as it's been presented by staff. I think it's been well explained. And if we, or a future council down the road under pressure, wanted additional areas within the industrial, they could either do it case by case or they could rewrite the ordinance, just like we're doing. So, I mean, I'm real comfortable with I don't know why Planning Commission would want I-2. I don't get it. I guess we'd need to chat with them. But I definitely want to stay with the staff recommendation.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I do feel that it's important to keep some of these areas open for high-tech companies and the good jobs that they provide. I don't know that your storage company jobs are particularly high-paying for any of them that are there. They are necessary, but they don't have to be next to your local grocery store. As far as storage in apartments, as far as I've known, most apartments have some storage facilities within them someplace. Sometimes they're automatically assigned to each apartment. Sometimes there's a small upcharge to get one. And I don't think this would stop that in any way, would it?
No.
So I don't see any reason why apartments couldn't provide their own if they found that their guests found that to be something very important to them. Or that even if something was in an industrial area, if somebody had to go an extra half mile to get to it, I don't see that as being particularly difficult. We're not asking them to go for suburbs away for it or something. There are places that it can expand here. So I too would like to keep, especially places like the Golden Triangle, open for those kinds of companies that pay salaries that can afford homes here and that provide some opportunities for new industrial type things coming in here. It's one of the things that's made Eden Prairie a great place to work and live, because you can combine them. So I'm very comfortable with the staff report, and I think that's the way I'd like to go.
Councilmember Wickstrom.
Yes, well, I'm going to weigh in on this, with my colleagues here as well. I actually have familiarity because I have 2 storage units at one of the facilities in Eden Prairie, and it's a wonderful business, and it's a needed business. I have to say, though, it is not as busy. I'm thinking it's probably the occupancy is maybe less than what we've thought. So in terms of it being full or not, I'm there all the time, trust me, dragging stuff around. But anyway, and I agree, the iGen is about as far as I would want to go. That's why we do all this future planning that we do. So that we know that we've got plans that are, in terms of our transit-oriented development for the future. I think we need to be cognizant of that. We talk about it all the time, and I would hate to see something happen and for us to lose an opportunity that we have been hoping for, thinking about.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to close the public hearing and approve the first reading of the ordinance to amend City Code Section 11.02 and 11.30 defining self-storage facilities and allow as a permitted use in the industrial iGen zoning district.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item is also yours, I believe. or who's doing D?
I am,
Okay,
Mayor.
Mr. Getchell.
I can. Janet can give it a shot.
Run,
But
Janet.
We'll get everybody to weigh in on this one, even the park and rec director,
Okay,
maybe.
all right. Well, then we'll be here all night.
Oh, my God.
Maybe he can help. He can help paint the support structures that might be in the right of way. Put a mural on them. You may recall in May the state legislature passed a state law. I call it a preemption, actually allowing for small cell wireless that is, can be allowed in public rights of way. And then you may recall that we updated our own right-of-way ordinance in response to that. So dealing with how we would permit small cell in the right-of-way. Another piece of that is that the law granted providers the ability to locate, their facilities as a permitted use in the right-of-way, as I mentioned, but cities may require conditional use permits. It's not something we often do in Eden Prairie. We typically use the plan unit development process. But in this case, the state is allowing us to require a conditional use permit for those utilities that would install support structures in the right-of-way. So we think this is a protection for our single-family residential properties. So the update to our city code based on that change in state law is a first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 11 related to conditional use permits and wireless communication services in the right-of-way. The city attorney helped draft this code. It does now align with state law, and we can answer any questions you may have regarding this.
Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone from the audience that wants to address the council on this first reading regarding wireless communication services? Okay, is there a motion?
Sorry, I've got to find, moved, you all are slow on the uptake
I
tonight, 'cause
know.
I guess I am too. Close the public hearing and approve the first reading of the ordinance to amend City Code Chapter 11 relating to conditional use permits and wireless services and equipment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. The next item is payment of claims. Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval of payment of claims as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any items to question? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Arnold,
Aye.
Councilmember Butcher Wickstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember Case,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Mayor Tara Lukens.
Aye. The next item is reports of council members, and Councilmember Case, you had something you wanted to discuss.
I do. I'll try to make it brief. The other morning, in fact, 2 mornings over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I had the occasion to be out exactly at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's an important detail here. So it was a couple of minutes before getting my newspaper. And I heard a run-up across the road at the airport. So, and it happened both times exactly at 6. So it was very clear that whoever was waiting to test. And I know the difference between a run-up for maintenance and a run-up, when the plane's being taken off. They last much longer. They usually occur a couple times with, back and forth as they're testing. These were clearly maintenance run-ups. So the first thought I had was, was it allowable from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. or was it 6 a.m.? I was trying to remember what our ordinance had allowed. So I came in and called city manager and checked and found out, yes, indeed, it was 7 a.m. And this was pre-time change, so it wasn't a time zone or daylight savings time issue. So clearly there's non-compliance there. At least from my perception at that moment. So my question is this, not the run-up issue, not really anything else with the airport. It's more thinking back again, since I had such a integral part of negotiating Ordinance 97 at the time back in 2002, and spent a couple years on it, and we as a city council, 3 of us, spent over $700,000 in that current time, and Mr. Rosso, you were deeply engaged in that process as well. So it means a lot to me in terms of the compliance part. So here's what I'd like to ask staff, if all of you would agree to this. I want to go back and review again what happens when we become aware of non-compliance. What's the process? And because I have a sense that over not only all the zoning issues, but the the commission, I forget what it's called, that we voted on about 5 years ago.
The Flying Airport Advisory Commission? No.
The zoning.
Airport zoning board?
Yeah. It's coming up for renewal this next year. We're going to have that issue. I've heard rumors, as all of us have, about airplane weight issues. Airplanes coming in heavier than what is allowable. They redid the pavement several years back. Not that I wouldn't trust completely Mac, truly, I mean that, but they were the ones that told us that the pavement depth stayed the same. So I want to know what's the process when we learn that there's a non-compliance. What happens? That's all I want to know. And then if it's agreed upon there's non-compliance, then what happens? Because according to my memory, both sides have agreed legally to fight in court on the same side to adhere to Ordinance 97. So I just want to kind of I want staff maybe, not next meeting, so January, February, pick a date, come back to us with, okay, this is what it looks like. These are the areas that we're looking at that might be dealing with non-compliance issues. This is how the complaint would be written out and given to whom. This is who will investigate. I don't know all that. I don't remember all that. And I feel like we're facing some of those issues again. By the way, can I just mention the Super Bowl's coming up. We're going to have massive traffic up there. This is not connected to that. That's just going to happen. Just let our residents know that there's going to be a couple days of just a lot of plane traffic up there, and that's just what it is. So this is completely separate on issues that I think we're going to be looking at over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months of how do we deal with noncompliance. So are you okay with that, if staff?
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
Absolutely.
That's all I had.
Good. Okay, anything else to bring before the council tonight? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.